this video, I'm going to beat Honor Mode in Baldur's Gate 3 by giving myself infinite action points with a very silly combination of items and exploits, and I am not using any mods. Rather, I am taking full advantage of the power of cheese to bend this game over and spank it because it's been a naughty girl. Oh wait, did I forget to mention that this exploit uses the power of stripping to fuel its overwhelming power? Oh yeah baby, Shadowheart is ready to strip it all the way down for completely legitimate combat reasons. But don't get yourself worked up just yet because we'll need to chase down the right items and buffs to make this strategy work. Fear not though, as by the end of this video you'll see the most powerful enemies in the game get absolutely pounded by Shadowheart again and again and again as I use infinite action points to whip them into submission. Shadowheart's adventure started on the Nautiloid ship, and it's hot down here in Avernus, so I stripped down to help me stay cool, obviously. This is a survival tactic, and I don't want to hear another word on the matter. I met Lae'zel and naturally assumed she was an Illithid agent since she hadn't removed all her armor like I did. My theory seemed to be a little off when she was cut down by a Cambion, but there's no time! I grabbed some slimy tentacles and helped them kiss so they could pop us out of Avernus. A Mind Flayer asked if I was down to swing, but before I could answer, I was knocked out of the ship and woke up on the beach. Thus begins Shadowheart's quest to become the world's deadliest stripper. The first thing I did was gather a couple of backup dancers.
That's it! Go on! Keep pulling! Apologies. Usually better at this.
Oh yeah, he's making it onto the squad.
And I can only assume you too were on the receiving end of a rather unwelcome insertion in the ocular region.
Oh baby, he's making it onto the squad. That's the kind of energy I'm looking for. Gale stripped down, happy to have been recruited as backup dancer number 1. A Mind Flayer wanted to audition for the role of backup dancer number 2, but I need an agile, dexterous backup dancer, and the Mind Flayer couldn't even dodge a simple swing of my mace, so the position remains open. Oh hell yeah, that's more like it. This guy's got the moves I'm looking for. And he doesn't mind the company dress code one bit. Act 1 doesn't have a lot to offer a young, aspiring exotic dancer like myself, so I explored as quickly as I could, gathering waypoints and any items that might come in handy. Astarion used his special skills to acquire Crusher's Ring for me, which will put a little pep in our step, and Gale liked what he saw.
I've never seen sleight of tongue quite like that before.
Well, get ready, Gale, because that wasn't the only performance you'll witness today. Shadowheart is going to learn a thing or two from a pro to help mold her into the most lethal stripper in existence, and Professor Abdurak was happy to oblige.
Pain is an intimate thing. It should be delivered with a loving and measured hand.
Give it to me as hard as you want, big boy.
My, an eager student indeed. I do believe we are both going to enjoy this.
He beat me with his mace, and I put on a dramatic show begging for mercy.
Your voice sounds so sweet, dear one.
Astarion was certainly enjoying the show.
Oh, bravo!
Encore.
He delivered another blow, then another, and my performance was so good that Leviatar, goddess of pain, granted me her blessing. Alright, believe it or not, visiting Abdurak was completely essential for me to become the world's deadliest stripper. While I don't technically need the blessing from Leviatar, it synergizes perfectly with the playstyle I'm going to be using in this video. Anytime I'm below 30% hit points, I will gain the Basking in Leviatar's Love condition, which grants a +2 to my attack rolls, and this is really going to help me land hits in Acts 1 and 2. I also acquired the Ritual Dagger, which is an essential part of my strategy later in the video. I also decided that I wanted Abdurak's mace, so I set up a little workplace accident for him. Oh, whoopsie. I vanished back to my camp so that I could wait it out a little bit, and I returned when everybody had calmed down. Abdurak didn't survive the explosion, so I'll be taking that mace now. I'm almost done in the goblin camp. I just need to get the boots that Beastmaster Zerk is wearing. But Shadowheart has done enough today, so she sent her backup dancers to handle this one for her. Gale turned Astarion invisible, and Astarion handled the goblin in a single flurry of attacks. Then he looted the boots for Shadowheart and and ran away from the battle, having done the bare minimum required to accomplish his task. These boots will allow Shadowheart to deal far more damage after dashing in combat, and they'll be extremely helpful in Act 2. The next item I wanted was worn by Kaga in the Druid Grove, and I didn't really want to get involved in their whole situation, so Gale just picked up Kaga with an improvised weapon attack and fast traveled out of the grove to kidnap her. Then he picked her up and ran her over to the cliffside, and once she was at the edge, he yeeted her off, dealing exactly 69 damage. This guy never fails to disappoint me. Astarion finished Kaga off with his hand crossbows, then picked up the Broodmother's Revenge amulet for Shadowheart. It adds poison damage to her weapon attacks anytime she's healed. And already, I only have 2 more important stops to make in Act 1. And the first is a Meluum in the Myconid colony. He sends me on a quest to gather some alchemy supplies so he can turn it into a potion for me. I assigned the job over to Gale, and he went above and beyond, collecting the Crooked Wand of Fireballs on the way. Shadowheart certainly doesn't mind a crooked wand. In fact, it's actually going to be her preference for this playthrough. Meluum's quest was easy enough, and although the potion was rancid and left me poisoned, I got exactly what I wanted, which is the Survival Instinct Illithid Power. This ability will heal me if my hit points drop to 0, and this automatically applies my amulet to dip my weapons in poison. Now, so far, this is just the game working as intended, but I have got a plan that's going to let me turn Revival into infinite action points. I'm a little underleveled, but I'm not going to let that stop me from moving on to the Githyanki Kresh. Shadowheart disguised herself as a Githyanki before moving in to speak to the Githyanki patrol.
I hate to be negative, but those Gith will carve you up like a goose.
All right, well, thanks for that vote of confidence, Astarion, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing. Fuck. Obviously, I used inspiration and rolled it again, passing the check this time, and the experience was enough to bring us up to level 4. Not to mention, we even got our point of inspiration right back. So I headed to the mountain pass, which the game informed me would be bitterly difficult for a party of my level, probably just because I haven't used all my level ups yet though, I don't know. There are 4 things that I need from the Githyanki Kresh, and the first is the Gloves of Dexterity, which I use the good old pouch trick to steal from the Githyanki Quartermistress. I basically just drag the gloves into a pouch she's carrying, and then I drag it over into my own pouch, and I get to keep everything free of charge. I love merchant exploits. Please never patch it. I picked up a couple of Mind Flayer parasites and shoved them into my brain. Shockingly, I am going to be using the Transfuse Health Illithid Power a lot in this playthrough. I slaughtered the Githyanki's healer before starting in on the second thing I need from the Kresh. This device can improve my Illithid powers if I pass 3 saving throws. 1, 2, 3. Now all of my Illithid powers cost bonus actions instead of actions, and the last 2 things that I need are just behind this door. I opened up the passageway that leads to the Blood of Lathander mace, but before I leave, there's a single Githyanki in the Inquisitor's chamber that I need to kill and loot. And the best way for me to ensure their quick death is to get Shadowheart below 30% hit points, so I have my +2 bonus to attack rolls from the Basking in Leviatar's Love condition. Then Shadowheart cast Survival Instinct on herself and started swinging. Shadowheart whipped out that Crooked Wand of Fireballs, grasped it firmly in her hand before letting it explode in a fiery inferno. She just cast Fireball and killed herself, but Survival Instinct healed her and even restored her action points back to full in the process. It even dipped her weapon in poison, so now she'll be able to do more damage with her attacks. She only needed 1 more hit though, and I looted the item I needed before turning invisible and escaping from the battle. The item I just received will increase my weapon attack damage by my spellcasting modifier. This will basically just give me an extra 3 damage on most of my attacks for pretty much the entire game. Sadly, my Crooked Wand of Fireballs was a 1-pump chump, but at least it went out in a blaze of glory. The final thing I need from the Kresh is the Blood of Lathander mace, and upon taking the mace, a ridiculously elaborate trap springs to life and threatens to destroy the entire Githyanki Kresh. Conveniently, it also opens a portal that lets me slip out to safety, so that's what I did, leaving the device intact to obliterate the Kresh and all life inside. I did a quick respec for Shadowheart and I put 2 levels into Fighter so I can get the Action Surge ability. Then I ran invisibly past the rest of the enemies in Act 1 and made my way into the Shadow Cursed Lands, an area that will be bitterly difficult for a party of my level. But seriously, I am quite underleveled and the Shadowlands are no joke, so I decided to join up with Karnas and let him escort me to Moonrise Towers. There's an ambush on the way, so I prepared for combat by using Transfuse Health twice to get down to 25% HP. I sided with Karnas when the Harpers attacked, and Astarion used a Scroll of Haste on Shadowheart, then Shadowheart used Action Surge, and she is now at 3 action points to use for this turn. Or is she? Shadowheart attacked 3 times with the Blood of Lathander Mace, using up all of her actions. She got hit by an opportunity attack that left her at 2 health and then another opportunity attack that misses. Tragic. I had to let Astarion sink his teeth into me to kill me, and the Blood of Lathander weapon passive healed me. Reviving me like this also restores all of my action points and my bonus action. So I used that bonus action to cast my Illithid Power Survival Instinct on myself, and then I attacked twice more. My final action point was used to throw a Smoke Powder Bomb on the ground to down myself so Survival Instinct could bring me back with 3 more action points. With a Sunbeam, I killed both Harpers, leveling up in the process, and I fired off a ranged attack to kill the 3rd Harper. Sadly, I am not strong enough just yet to fully clear the ambush in 1 turn, but I am not worried about it one bit, because once I get everything I need, I will never have to click the end turn button again. I reached Moonrise Towers, and Karnas skittered away up to the top. I purchased an Elixir of Bloodlust from Roa Moonglow, which will come in handy later, as well as the Drake Throat Glaive. I also spoke to Araj Abladra, I don't know how to pronounce that, who wanted to get bitten by Astarion.
I'm sorry. You want to be bitten? I will have to decline.
Oh, come on, Astarion. I had to get beaten by Abdurak's mace to gain power. You can nibble on this lady's neck a little bit.
Fine. I'll do it.
Astarion sank his teeth into her, and she rewarded his efforts with the Potion of Everlasting Vigor, which permanently increases strength by 2. Shadowheart consumed the potion, bringing her strength up to 18. I also picked up the Risky Ring, which gives me advantage on all attack rolls, and I equipped that onto Shadowheart. It's time to recruit my 3rd party member, Minthara. She is in a tough situation at the moment, so I went to visit her in the dungeon. Shadowheart powered up to 3 actions and wiped out Minthara's captors with a little help from one of Gale's sleep spells. Then Gale turned Shadowheart and Minthara invisible, and we just walked right out. I popped over to Last Light Inn and bought the Mighty Cloth, which increases my strength by 2, bringing it up to 20. Now I know what you must be thinking. Fracture, you promised to become the most lethal stripper ever, but all you've done since the video started is put more and more clothing on. Like, damn bro, you're fully clothed now. Okay, that's true, but here's the thing. You have to have clothes on if you want to strip them off. Now that's just a straight up scientific fact. And we are rapidly approaching the moment that Shadowheart ascends to the highest possible tier of stripper. A stripper that can finish any client in 6 seconds or less. But I hear you, let's get this show moving a little faster, shall we? I need to gain a lot of experience before fighting Ketheric Thorm, so I basically just went on a killing spree. My last stop to gain experience was Moonrise Towers, and just like I did with Kaga, I employed the forbidden art of kidnapping to teleport guards to the front of Moonrise Towers and slaughter them one at a time. Now that we're level 7, I respect my entire party to clerics so that they'd gain the Death Ward ability. I can use this to revive Shadowheart even more times in combat to refresh her action points. Elixirs of Bloodlust have been really hard to come by in this playthrough, but I did find another one for sale and I decided to give it a test run. But tragedy did strike, and I don't even know when it happened, but somehow I lost Leviatar's love. Shadowheart has not died in this playthrough, so I think it was just a bug, but it's gone, and if this wasn't honor mode, I would go back to a previous save to get it, but sadly that isn't possible. My attacks are a little less accurate now, which is a bummer. But I'm just about ready to face the boss at the end of Act 2, and here's how I'm going to do it. Gale can enhance my Blood of Lathander mace with the Elemental Weapon ability, which is granted to him by his Drake Throat Glaive. he can stack magic weapon on top of that, which gives my Blood of Lathander mace a total of +5 to weapon enchantment. Shadowheart can use an Elixir of Bloodlust to get another action point in combat once per turn when she slays a foe. And the fun part is that it activates even if the foe I killed was me. I can get up to 4 action points in combat, and they all come back every single time I get revived. And I can revive once thanks to my Blood of Lathander mace, a second time with the Illithid Power Survival Instinct, and then 3 more times thanks to my party members casting Death Ward on me. Thanks to my boots, I can dash to gain Stacks of Wrath, which are going to increase my damage by up to 7 if I dash 3 times. Shadowheart can hit like a truck now, with my literal minimum damage landing at 19 bludgeoning damage per hit. If we multiply that by 4 actions per turn, we're at 76 damage. Then if I have 5 turns, thanks to all the revivals refreshing my action points, I'm easily pumping out over 300 damage before my enemies even get a chance to fight back. Although all it takes is a single misplay for me to screw myself. Oh my god, I forgot about his legendary action. Oh shit, this is bad. I threw a health potion at Shadowheart to get her back up, and she turned invisible and ran like hell. The rest of the fight was a train wreck, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was very scared I might lose my honor mode run right here. It's a good day to have a party full of clerics though. I caught a lucky break when I managed to knock Karnas prone with a shield blow. And with my party only 7 hit points away from losing my honor mode save file, we killed Karnas. Now here's the deal, I was fueled by passion and overconfidence until now, but almost losing honor mode sobered me up for just a moment, so I decided to respec Shadowheart to a full-on fighter for the final boss of Act 2. As a fighter, I gain a second feat at level 6, and I chose dual wielder so I can equip both the Blood of Lathander mace and my ritual dagger that I got from Abdurak in Act 1. By the way, the next time you see Shadowheart as a cleric, it'll be as the sexiest, deadliest stripper that Shar has ever been blessed to claim as one of her dark justiciars. The only thing standing between me and infinite action points is Ketheric Thorm. I gave my whole party haste with potions of speed, then Gale baited out Ketheric Thorm's reaction, which of course was a critical hit Divine Smite. Not a good start. Shadowheart used Action Surge to get a 3rd action point, then dashed twice to gain 6 stacks of Wrath. I swung an attack with my last action point, then used the Ritual Dagger's Blood Sacrifice ability to deal damage to myself with a bonus action. This killed Shadowheart, and the Blood of Lathander mace brought her back. It also activated her Elixir of Bloodlust, so now she is at 4 action points. I attacked 6 times in a row from here, and I am really missing that +2 to attack rolls from Loviatar's Love because I missed twice despite having a 91% chance to hit. Astarion used Death Ward on Shadowheart and threw a Smoke Powder Bomb. I needed a second Smoke Powder Bomb coming in from Minthara to end Ketheric and Shadowheart at the same time. The Apostle of Merkel is up next, and I guess I am just bad at this game because I once again forgot about a legendary action that killed me as soon as I attacked. Death Ward did bring Shadowheart back, but that is 3 action points completely wasted. I used Survival Instinct and attacked 3 more times before Smoke Powder bombing myself and attacking 3 more times after that. But the Apostle of Merkel isn't even close to being dead yet because I have misplayed this fight so badly. Thankfully, there's no problem that can't be solved with a little Barrelmancy. I dropped every Smoke Powder bomb I had on the ground and firebolted them to bring Merkel down to about 100 health. Unfortunately, I didn't kill Merkel in 1 turn, so I offered Minthara up as a sacrifice. If Merkel doesn't have something to swing at, he uses a map-wide blast that would have killed Shadowheart for good, and I would have lost my honor mode save file. This time I remembered to bait out the legendary action with Gale, and Shadowheart blasted Merkel and an Intellect Devour to get an extra action point from Bloodlust, then swung 3 times to finish him off. That was so scuffed and sketchy as fuck, but you know what? We did it! Shadowheart is about to become a god. I saved the Emperor from a couple of pathetic Githyanki tanky attackers, and Shadowheart became a partial Illithid. This is the moment that unlocked the free cast Illithid power, and that's it. I officially have everything I need to become the world's deadliest stripper. The Blood of Lathander mace is no longer necessary, so I equipped the Ambusher blade, which deals bonus damage to any enemy that hasn't taken a turn yet in combat, which is going to be every enemy for the rest of the game. No enemy will ever get to take their turn again. I respect Shadowheart to 1 fighter, 7 cleric, and I will put a second point into fighter to get action surge back, but it really isn't necessary. I dropped Shadowheart down to 1 hit point to get her battle ready, and we are going to fight Gortash at the most difficult time to fight him, his coronation. He is surrounded by steel watchers and guards, making it the perfect time to display my dominance. I told Gortash that he's a dead man, and Astarion was concerned.
You're bluffing, right? Because those contraptions can turn us into paste.
I'm not bluffing, Astarion. This won't even be a fight. Combat commenced, and Shadowheart and Astarion have the first 2 moves. And these will be the only 2 moves required to kill every single enemy in the room. The Illithid power free cast allows me to cast a spell without using a spell slot. So I used free cast to apply Death Ward to Shadowheart. Astarion's only job here was to throw a potion of speed at Shadowheart so she'd have 2 action points. After attacking a Steel Watcher, Shadowheart used her bonus action to use the Ritual Dagger's Blood Sacrifice to down herself. And of course, Death Ward brought her back with her actions restored. But I have already used free cast, so I can't use it again, except with the power of stripping. For some reason beyond my comprehension, taking clothes off will reset the cooldown of free cast. So when my shoes came off, the game bugged out and it reset free cast so that I can use it again. Now, you know, obviously this is a completely intentional and balanced game mechanic that I'm gonna use to cast Death Ward again. So I attacked another time, and then I downed myself with Blood Sacrifice. I stripped off my clothes this time, refreshing free cast so I can cast Death Ward and attack again before killing myself to refresh my action points again. Now, with no clothes left to strip, I've got one choice. The underwear is coming off. Wait, no, this is YouTube. I obviously can't show that. Let's go ahead and change my appearance off of camp clothes so I don't get myself into trouble. Now I can take off my underwear to refresh free cast yet again and use Death Ward. But now what do? I'm all out of camp clothes to take off. Well, I could always take off my cape and start stripping down the rest of my armor, but then I'll lose combat stats, and who wants that? How about instead I just use some action points to put clothes back on? And as it turns out, putting clothes on also refreshes free cast, allowing me to free cast Death Ward and down myself. All right, let's swap back over to camp clothes appearance, and I can put all my clothes back on while still maintaining my infinite turn exploit. So we've come full circle. With just 2 action points, I can infinitely continue my turn by stripping it down and dressing back up. This is just a little bit tedious though, so let's go ahead and get that 3rd action point back in here by drinking an elixir of bloodlust and having Astarion kill me since my bonus action was used up to drink the elixir. Now I can cast Death Ward, attack, and end myself with Blood Sacrifice to activate my elixir and gain a 3rd action point. Just this one time, the elixir of bloodlust gives me 5 temporary hit points, which is actually a little irritating for my strategy. I got rid of the 5 hit points this time by casting a scroll of fireball on myself, but as you can see, I have infinite action points now, achieved through the power of a stripping focused exploit. I dealt enough damage to the Steel Watcher to activate its self-detonation protocol before turning my attention to Gortash. Killing him is as simple as stripping it down, free casting Death Ward, attacking, and downing myself before suiting back up, free casting Death Ward, and attacking. Given the fact that a combat round in Dungeons & Dragons is 6 seconds long, I have essentially given myself the ability to pause time and aggressively stab my enemy to death while they can't do anything to stop me. In fact, the only thing that can go wrong is if an enemy reaction takes me out at the wrong time somehow. So I just go ahead and bait out the opportunity attacks before starting in on my sensual stabbing sessions. I cleared the entire room without letting any creature move a muscle, and finally hit the end turn button to watch the fireworks. Now, you might be wondering, is this the peak of how absurd this strategy can get? And the answer is, of course, no. Here's a little analogy. If my strategy were a Pokemon right now, it would be a Charmander. And I'm going to evolve the strategy to a Charmeleon next, and then finally to a Charizard. I leveled up and gained my action surge back, and then I visited Popper at the circus to stock up on potions of speed and elixirs of bloodlust. Now I'm going to sexily strip my way through Baldur's Gate, blowing anything that tries to stand in my way. To level up to Charmeleon, I visited Stormshore Tabernacle, and Astarion stole an amulet and was cursed with Castigated by Divinity. He's a cleric right now, so he can of course just use Remove Curse, but when removing this curse, a diva appears and attacks. Now obviously Shadowheart just slaughtered the diva instantly, but then she picked up its corpse. And by searching for Diva Mace in the search window, I can find a hidden weapon and equip it to Shadowheart. This baby does an extra 4d8 radiant damage on every attack, but I do need the dual wielder feat in order to use it alongside my ritual dagger. So I aggressively stripped my way through the city, slaughtering doppelgangers to gain experience. I also butchered a couple of Death Knights. And then I volunteered to become an unholy assassin, leveling up when killing Valyria. With this kill, I was reborn as an unholy assassin wielding a diva mace and a ritual dagger. Say hello to the Charmeleon phase of the video. I'm dealing pretty fantastic damage, and there was a time in this playthrough when I thought this might be as good as it gets, but I couldn't have been more wrong. I headed over to Sorceress Sundries to do a little looting of magic items. Lorroakan's introduction cinematic started playing, so naturally I chose to attack immediately, completely massacring every enemy in sight. I'm a knowledge cleric, so I cracked open Lorroakan's arcane defenses super easily and grabbed the Marco Heshkir staff on the table. My hope here was that I could use Kareska's favor to grant myself the spell Chain Lightning, and then I wanted to try and cast it using free cast over and over again. Sadly though, free cast doesn't work on the Chain Lightning granted by the staff, so I needed to come at the build from a different angle to improve it. My next thought was to multi-class as a wizard and copy the Artistry of War spell into my spellbook and spam it throughout every battle. Free cast does work on Artistry of War and the spell does incredible damage, but sadly this spell can only be cast once per short rest. But then I realized that I'd been thinking about the situation all wrong because I was still imagining my endgame build as something that fit 2 levels of fighter in, so I had action surge, but that just isn't necessary. I selected a bunch of high-level wizard spells and organized my hotbar so I was battle ready. Minthara cast haste on Shadowheart, and then Shadowheart flew into combat with Orin. I am so unbelievably overconfident, and I have forgotten about almost every legendary action in the game. Orin was no exception. Orin downed Shadowheart with her main hand, Death Ward revived her, and then Orin downed Shadowheart again with her offhand attack. Once again, it is a good day to have a cleric in the squad. It's also good to have bonus action Illithid powers because I can fix my misplay with Survival Instinct. Astarion used a scroll to cast Cloud of Daggers, and Shadowheart flew into it to die, reviving thanks to Survival Instinct, and this refreshed all my actions, allowing me to cast Death Ward again. I could just walk out of and back into the Cloud of Daggers to die again and get my hit points down to 1. Then Blood Sacrifice killed Shadowheart, giving her a 3rd action point and those 5 pesky temporary hit points. But now that I've embraced Wizard, I can cast Cloud of Daggers to wipe out the temporary hit points and get myself back into my infinite action point loop. I am now in full control. Orin can't do a damn thing to stop me as I blast her with the fury of whatever element suits my fancy in the moment. Every single turn, I can take off my clothes to free cast Death Ward and then put them back on to free cast anything I want. It uses exactly 3 action points and lets me dish out incredible amounts of damage to slay any foe I want with ease. I reached level 11 and had a little fun with the sword Fowler Aluve's Sword Shriek ability to add thunder damage to my magic missiles. Then I learned a few 6th level spells and headed over to the House of Grief. This is a Shadowheart origin run after all, and I requested entry to the House of Grief and was told,
first, you must submit to the mapping of the heart.
No, I don't need to submit to anything. If you won't let me in, I'll just let myself in. Nobody can stand in my way. In this battle, there's a lot of enemies, and that gave me a fun idea. I can consistently kill myself with Cloud of Daggers anytime I want, so I don't actually need to save my bonus action for Blood Sacrifice anymore. Which means it's time to have a little fun with Black Hole. The tooltip says that after casting Black Hole, you can use it 5 more times, but that isn't entirely accurate. You can just use it for 5 more turns, and my turn never ends. I can use Black Hole as many times as I want, and I did just that. I grouped up every single enemy in the room so they could hold hands and pray for the suffering to stop. I opened with a Chain Lightning, and Viconia tried to use her legendary action, but I used Psionic Dominance to put a stop to that nonsense. None can stop me, no one can stand against me, and any that try will be met with devastating power that only comes from being the best damn stripper in all of Faerun. Foolish children. I guess I'm Mother Superior now. It's time to end this. I headed to the alternate route to the brainstem through the upper city sewers. There's an Illithid Arcanist down here that tried to counterspell my Death Ward, but the counterspell failed. Not that it would have mattered, I could have just cast it again instead of using an offensive spell. With the sewers cleared of enemies, I simply ran invisibly to the brainstem, which, if you think about it, is kind of just a giant stripper pole, and that's the only reason Shadowheart was willing to bow down before it. She's just paying her respects to the largest stripper pole in the world before she grabs onto that thing and shows it what she can do. The Netherbrain should have surrendered right then and there, but Shadowheart doesn't mind doing things the hard way. Not that the battle was hard, mind you. There's nothing that can compete with the infinite power of cheese, although they're certainly welcome to try. One of my Death Wards got counterspelled, so I took my shoes off and cast it again with a full action point to spare. These Illithid Arcanists can't even get close to making me take my underwear off. Pathetic. After finishing off literally everything standing in my way, the Emperor reached the crown of Karsus, and he was the first to enter the final battlefield. I had the Emperor attack the brain to bait out its legendary reaction, which left him lethargic, so good thing I remembered this time. But the brain has 0 defenses left against my attacks. I fired off magic missiles, sunbeams, disintegrated a platform, whoopsie, in any other playthrough that might have been a big deal, but let's try that again. I used a Chain Lightning, I even hit it with a Shocking Grasp, although I had meant to cast Cone of Cold. With one last magic missile, the Netherbrain was defeated, and honestly, it never stood a chance. Now obviously I deserve to be a god after all this, so let's make it official with a ritual dagger to the gut. I am the main character of this world.
What are you doing? Stop!
Oh, Gale, I'm just seizing the moment.
You are glorious, my love. You have never been more beautiful.
Now the whole world can be my backup dancers, and they should be grateful for the opportunity. After all, I am absolutely the best damn stripper in the entire fucking world.
In my name.